We are going to start with the founder of our Caribbean Women in Aquaculture movement. And so I'm going to give you guys a bit of her bio. So Miss Julianne is an aquaculture consultant specializing in aquaculture biosecurity, nutrition, and aquatic animal feed manufacturing. Julianne received a Bachelor of Science in Chemistry and Zoology from the University of the West Indies, Bona Campus, in Kingston, Jamaica. Her Masters of Science in Animal Nutrition and her PhD in Fisheries and Aquatic Sciences, both from the University of Florida, Gainesville, Florida. She was awarded a 2-year fellowship for postdoctoral studies at the Scripps Hubs SeaWorld Research Institute in San Diego, California, to improve the nutritional status of local marine broodstock fish species. Her experiences within the aquaculture industry for the last 20 years involved research and development, working in the animal food industry, and government organizations. She has assisted in the capacity of aquaculture consultant for the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, FAO, in the aquaculture branch for USAID, as well as IDB, and Compete Caribbean. She, of course, as I said before, is the founder of our Caribbean Aquaculture Network, and the Caribbean Women in Aquaculture Network. And our esteemed guest for this evening is none other than founder, and correct me if I'm wrong, please, but founder and research extraordinaire, Black woman. And I did a little snooping around on Instagram and found out that you're an author as well. I see your little series going around. So she is the multifaceted Teressa, and actually Teressa Alexander, who is currently a PhD student in plant physiology at the University of the West Indies, Trinidad and Tobago. She did her undergraduate studies in physics at Morgan State University while working in the research labs. She studied cancer biology as well, and insect biomechanics. That's interesting, very, very interesting. And so after graduation, she spent 2 years as a research fellow at Harvard, discovering her passion for plants. And her desire to work with tropical plant models drew her to the West Indies, where she focuses on linking genotype differences to drought tolerance in cocoa trees under climate change. So we thank you for being with us, guys, and we welcome Miss Teressa Alexander.
Welcome, Teressa.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so let me go into it. Just a little bit about myself. Yes, I do cocoa physiology. I say cacao. Cacao is the tree, cocoa is the product, but usually we interchange them anyway, and we say cocoa. So I do study cocoa physiology. But as she said, multifaceted, right? I am very interested in different things. So I do use science as sort of the foundation for everything else I do. I am interested in art a lot. I'm interested in film, photography, fashion, tech. All of this has to do with science, but it's more of in the realm of science communication. It's not a book, but I do like storytelling. And I like the genre of sci-fi fantasy. So if I'm telling a story about a tree, it's not just going to be in a literal sense, because I'm just really interested in, like, I really love sci-fi fantasy type stories. So I think it's intriguing to bring, but there is scientific facts in it. It's just that, yeah, in more fantasy way, imagination.
It still makes you an author,
right? Right. And then yes. And then another thing for me is always been like outreach work, community, working with young people. Since I was an undergrad, I always wanted to like drag young folks into physics, and try to change their minds about this, you know, why it's so hard and it's so, and like, because everyone runs to the biology and chemistry table, and the physics table is always empty. And yeah, so I always wanted to like drag folks into physics because there's so much you could do with it. But people have this way of thinking that what am I going to apply it to when it's difficult, but it's actually not that bad. Also wanting to focus. So I started off in STEM Caribbean media, featuring scientists who are from the Caribbean region and what they do, whether it's professionals or students, Caribbean students, wherever they are, and their projects and things like that, and just featuring persons and people very interested in it. So I was like, well, let me continue this string. So the co-founder of STEM Caribbean and I had a conversation, and so we just pushed for STEM Caribbean media, where I just started to interview different people. I also had videos of their research and going into their labs and just showing what they do. And then here came STEMNoire. And this is really off of lived experiences, but also the statistics of Black women in STEM, and just really wanting to create a community for women just over the wellness aspect, because it is a mentally strenuous area for women at times, especially on the career level. Retention in STEM careers is difficult for Black women. Also, getting women to stay within STEM areas is also an issue as well. So this is our team. It is 10 women, and this is who is on the planning council. All of these women are in STEM careers. Some of them are lecturers, some of them are engineers, well, I said lecturers, but for professors, it's the US. And some of them are engineers, some of them are researchers, and it's just different areas of STEM. And funny enough, none of us actually met each other in person until last year.
Okay, cool.
But we've been working together since 2019. Yeah, so we basically built our planning council from Instagram DMs, right? Women in STEM in general, not going into it even in a more smaller grouping. We're not even going into the fact of Black women in STEM or just women of colors. We're just saying women in STEM in general is a small group. And then if you look at the women of color or women or Black women in STEM, it's even a smaller group. So it wasn't hard for us to find women who are already either communicating science on social media and just showing their passion for it, or who were professors and talking about the classroom and different things. So it was easy for us to slide into the DMs and say, hey, do you want to be a part of this idea, this crazy idea, right?
That's fabulous.
Right. And they joined on, and they're still here, all of them.
They took the risk.
Yes, through all the ups and downs, they are still here and going for 2023. So a little story about Kilana and I actually met in, so I am the co-founder, not the founder. Kilana and I met in undergrad. If you look to the right, we were MARC scholars. So we were in a MARC program, which is the Minority Access to Research Careers. As an undergrad, she was a biology student, I was a physics student, and we, being in the same research program, we always had to go to externships either together or we would go to conferences together. So all of us just kind of, within that group of 5, we all just bonded over different things. We had a lot of discussions about what we wanted to do moving forward when we were in grad school, the kind of grad schools doing research, what we experienced and what we thought needed to change. And the similarities in what we were talking about is what actually built the idea of STEMNoire. So it is through lived experiences really, and also just looking at the stats. And it was easy for us to determine that what we're talking about isn't crazy, you know. Just having a group of women who look just like us and experience the same things we do, and just creating a support group to talk about the issues that we experience and to find solutions through that, because there are people who are much further in their career, and those who are now starting, who could very much so speak to the younger folks moving forward. So that's really what we wanted to create, a community of Black women in STEM. And we wanted to have a conference, also to just generate networking, sharing their research, sharing their work, and obviously collaborating with each other. If there was a professor who had opportunities in their lab, or, you know, off of a Wellness Wednesday session, someone had got an internship, because, you know, people have had these opportunities before, some don't know, and so they share it, and then people, you know, end up getting into a program or an internship that they were looking for, or they just get very good advice moving forward, especially if they're having issues with the advisor in their PhD program. It's just a plethora of different things, and that's what we wanted to create. The pillars that we stand on. So we do have 4 things that we mainly focus on, and that's fellowship, which I talk about a lot, which is the support aspect of it. Personal and professional development. We do want to have different women in different areas of their career working together, and, you know, whether it be finding training or finding a mentor through the group. That's what we wanted to build. We also wanted to focus a lot on health and wellness, because, you know, we've had sessions on Wellness Wednesday where a lot of grad students are in tears because they had a bad situation with their professor or their advisor or supervisor, and they don't know how to get through it, or it's putting a lot of mental strain on them, and it's stressful. There are some girls who say they have PTSD, you know, through the, it's tough. It's pretty tough. So we did want to focus a lot on health and wellness. We do have speakers who do come on and talk about different ways of coping mechanisms, or just much better ways of, how should I say, not blowing up in your program, or, you know, finding better ways of communication with your advisor if you're having issues in that, or even what are the other aspects, or, you know, being alone in your program. You know, you don't, representation is important. When you don't see yourself, how do you find support if something happens, right?
I wish I had this when I was doing my PhD. Wow.
Yeah.
I really needed this a lot.
Yeah. When you're going into an interview situation and you're the only one, like, how do you, like, what are the good advice for those types of situations? But it's, for me, even when I was looking at grad schools, I would be the only person. I would be the only woman, or I would be the only woman, person of color in general, in my internships, in my lab experiences to do research. Like, that was always my situation. And for me, it was very male dominated because I was in physical science.
Yes.
So I would have engineering internships and things like that. So it would usually be guys, right? But so, yeah.
So pretty much, Teresa, what you've done with STEMNoire is create a resource center where women of color, women who are, or let's just say minority women, are able to come together and have resource, camaraderie, and basic support for studies from graduate straight through. Is there like a category of persons that should be able to be a part of STEMNoire, or NIOR, sorry?
Oh, it's noir. I want it to be bougie.
Noir.
And I was just like,
Right, noir. Right.
No, there's no category. But we specifically focus on Black women,
Okay.
or women within the African diaspora. And that's just because of when you say women of color, it's sort of the focus is moved away from women in Black, within the Black community. And I think, you know, as coming from an HBCU as well, which is historically Black college or university, it's important. It was important for us to focus there because we saw that within the stats that we were looking at, Black women were at the lowest percentage always, right? And so, and obviously because we were Black women and we was like, well, this is within our, you know, this is who we are. I mean, so it's something we wanted to focus on and sort of affect change in.
Yeah, and it's very relevant. It's very relevant for the United States. If you go to study in the United States, like Teresa said, it's, you know, at least when I did it, it was like I was the only one. I was kind of like the guinea pig also from my department because I was the first Black woman foreigner. So that was very, very, very stressful, being the only one to have to continuously explain certain things. And I really, really wish I had this community because I had no one to ask questions. And I didn't have a mentor either. I didn't have a Black woman to look up to because there was never, ever one doing graduate school or a PhD in you know, my generation. So especially if you go to school in the States or if you go to school in the UK, I think this is very, very relevant.
Yes, we do have persons in the UK who join as well who say exactly the same thing.
Yeah, it's very relevant. But for the
Yes.
Caribbean, I think it's very relevant, you know, especially for our group, to see other women of color, you know, doing graduate school or doing, you know, advanced studies in science, because like you said, it is not difficult, but you do need to have that mentorship or people to go to ask questions when things get difficult.
Right. And you feel much more comfortable and it's more relatable to you if it's someone who looks like you, right? So if you're in a predominantly white university or something like that, and you know, you have to report something, you don't feel comfortable to do it, or you don't feel like they'll understand because
they won't understand because they haven't experienced the same thing you have experienced.
Right. So yeah, that was one of the things that we do
Okay, cool.
experience a lot in. Yeah,
I have a few more questions, but I'm gonna write them down so that I don't forget them.
Yeah, no, go ahead. So yeah, this was what we were talking about before, which is Black Women in STEM Week, how we started off. Because of COVID, we just kind of said, you know what, we're not gonna give up. We're gonna do something this year. And we started off with Black Women in STEM Week. And we did have different events, which had different speakers talking about their research. We also had an outreach session, panel session for high school girls. And we also had wellness involved, which we had a HIIT session and yoga session on the weekend for different women to join. So that's how we sort of drove. I think that's when we started our page really, and we started a YouTube, and you know, and then just kind of building our community there for content which was directly related to the Black women in STEM community, right? But for next year, we did finish 2021. We had our conference. 2022, we had our conference, and now we're going forward with 2023. But this will be our first in-person conference since COVID messed up our flow. And it will be in June, the 22nd to the 25th, and that's San Juan, Puerto Rico. We are headed to Caribe Hilton. And we're hoping to have persons join us there. You know, we know that the numbers will drop a little bit because it's a traveling situation to Puerto Rico. Not everybody can get to Puerto Rico because we have persons who joined us all the way from, where was it? I always talk about this girl, Namibia, this year. So we know getting to Puerto Rico is not going to be easy, but we are trying to see if we can get sponsorship for travel awards. That's in the works. But we will see what happens there. Our STEM socials, which is what I was talking about as well. We did finish the one in Dallas, but the one coming is December 3rd, which will be in DC. And so we have a huge population of women who join us for the conference in the DC area. And so we decided to have the social there. So that would be like the holiday social. But we have started asking for abstracts. So if you do have research that you would like to present at the conference, your deadline is December 16th. Okay. And if you would like to speak at the conference or do a workshop at the conference, the deadline is also December 16th. And we also hope to have maybe sponsored speaking sessions or sponsored workshops. So if you do work with a company and you would like to speak, we can also see how we can arrange, if allowed, if your company would like to sponsor your speaking engagement or workshop that you would like to host. So I think this is the last slide, I believe. Oh, there we go. And this is the last slide. This one is basically about the app. So this is what we were talking about. We did 2022 is when we launched this app. We do have it off of the Socio platform. We did have our conference through the app. And we also have a community called System currently on the app, which we're still building, but it is on the app. And you can find that in the App Store or Google Play. And then there's the web app, which is just the link to jump on for STEMNoire. And that is it for me.
Thank you so much, Teresa, for telling us a little bit about STEMNoire.
Yes.
And allowing us to understand that there are several platforms that we can access as women in academics, and especially for us in aquaculture. We are a very small group. I know that we're scattered all over the Caribbean and probably a little bit shy, but it will take some us getting used to sending out or information, sending out who we are as a group, and hopefully we can be able to grow and strive and thrive.
Yes, yes.
So guys, as your host, I'm gonna ask the group to do two things. One, I'm gonna ask everyone to just put your information so that we can contact you in the meeting chat, and that is your email address. If you have a LinkedIn, that will be great, so that we can have an idea of what it is that you're doing. So that's it. And two, I know that this is kind of informal and we've heard about Julie and Teresa, but we'd love everybody to just kind of open their mics one at a time and just give us just a brief 20-second snippet of who you are, what you're doing, and something that you like a favorite fruit, for instance.
And your video, if you could turn on your video just for a second.
It's okay. We know it's Saturday. I'm at church, people. So I'm at church. I was in practice. So yeah. So go.
Who is first? Ruth? Is Ruth there? Caron?
Hello, hi, Ruth Gutierrez here. Sorry, my internet has been so unstable, but thank you so much for the presentation. I was really interested Great presentation. I'm impressed of like how you've developed the app and you have all the media engagement. So it's like, community plus science, which is quite impressive. I think that's a really good way to get people to learn more about your project. And I think it's something that could benefit many in the long term rather than just the team itself. So great. Thank you so much, Alexandra. Nice one.
All right, Ruth, remember you have two things for us. So you did one, which is to put your information. Yes,
And then
tell us what you do.
the
And
fruit.
30 seconds.
What I do, so I'm looking at the seaweed crop, and mainly the farmed one. I'm not looking at wild harvest seaweed, but the angle at this is more looking at the adaptation strategies that are being used with seaweed farmers, and hopefully we could highlight some innovative measures that are being implemented and hopefully develop a seaweed farmers database and share how to grow this industry further, like within the next 5 years. So that's where I'm at, but I'm at the early stages, so I'm still at proposals and literature review, and so it's gonna just at that stage. So I have 2 more years ahead. I'm enrolled at the University of Malta under the auspices of the Islands and Small State Institute. So and I'm just focusing on the Belize case study. So but I wanted to extend the study to St. Lucia, but because of finances I'm not really sure as yet, but I'm keeping my mind open. A favorite fruit, probably dragon fruit. I think that would be my favorite right now. Thank you.
Nice. That's nice. All right, next person.
Nadia? No, Nadia?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Nadia, we can hear you.
Kind of have a noisy background. So, let me see. Oh, hold a minute. I put up that background, but
Yeah,
I'm
the
not
fish
seeing
pond.
myself.
Where are you?
I'm coming. Oh, it's not working. I need to get my background off because I put it up, but I realize I'm not seeing myself.
Right, so let me see if I can. Yeah, you have to go into. Oh, I was just about to go. So go into settings, I believe, and hold on. So you have to go into the
So I remove that
Zoom
background.
setting. That's what I'm about to do. Hi, JJ. Right, more. Let me see. I'm not seeing.
I'm done.
Oh, Nadia, if you look on the camera, you will see an arrow that goes up. Click on that.
I'm there.
And see if it will either blur the background or to remove it. Yeah, sometimes
in the meantime,
Right
let's
now I
move
don't know how to get it off. So
It's okay, Nadia. In
It's
the
okay,
meantime,
Nadia.
go ahead.
all right, everyone. Hi, good afternoon or evening. So I'm Nadia McNeish. Hold on. I'm Nadia McNeish. Currently, I'm not studying, but I'm working with the Fisheries Authority, National Fisheries Authority in Jamaica, in the area of extension and aquaculture production. And I deal mainly with ornamental fish and tilapia production. Hope to in the near future but there are things I have to make arrangements for.
What are you
That's
interested in?
basically-
What are you interested in, Nadia? Where your interest lies?
In terms of studies?
Yeah.
Well, my interest actually lies in food science and looking at food science and value addition to aquatic species at the different value chain. So that's basically my interest for now.
Okay. And your favorite fruit?
Favorite food, mango.
Who doesn't love a good mango? Mangoes are so awesome. Yay. Thank you, Nadia. Anybody else? Lisa?
Hi, good afternoon. I am Lisa Benjamin. I don't know what's going on there. My camera is on. Oh yeah, okay, I got it. That's a kind of protective mechanism. So I had to slide it open. Yeah. Okay, so I lecture at the University of the West Indies in veterinary public health, epidemiology, food safety. So as far as aquaculture is concerned, my interest would be along the lines of, food safety. And right now, my research interest is in antimicrobial resistance. So that is an area. I just have a small project in terms of genomics. So what I'm really interested in is applying One Health to solve the problem of antimicrobial resistance.
Okay.
Okay, and what was the other question now?
What's your favorite fruit?
Oh, my favorite fruit. That is a very good question. Oh, well, actually, it's not a tropical fruit, so to speak. It's blueberries.
Blueberries.
For some reason, right?
That's fine. That's fine.
So
That's quite fine.
that's me.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you, Caroline.
Wait, Lisa, where do you lecture? Is it Mona?
No, it's at in St. Augustine at the School of Vet Medicine. So Eric Williams Medical Sciences.
Oh, Eric Williams, I'm there.
Yeah.
We need to talk. Since you're in Trinidad, when I will see you, I could see you. I live in Trinidad.
Yeah, well, my email is up there, so
Okay. See, this is the reason now everybody talking their research. Like, this is my experience when I first came to Trinidad to start UE, and I would be hearing people's in these seminars within the institution, but I was like, why is it just here? Like, it needs to be out there. Like, all the types of research, all the types of research happening, and really great projects. I've never heard of some of these things. And when you guys were talking about your research, I was just like, wow. No, and no one, not that no one knows, but I think the public needs to be more involved.
Yeah, this is our hope to get the data out there and let people know that what we are doing in Caribbean for sure.
Yes, yes.
I think
So
I know the reason for that still, but that will be in the discussion. Yeah, Caroline?
Hi everyone, I'm Caroline. Hi everyone, I'm Caroline. I am an extension officer who deal primarily with tilapia farmers as well as ornamental farmers. I'm also responsible to collect data and interact with these farmers to provide the information so that we know what is happening in Jamaica. And also I log this information onto FAO sites, but that is mainly for aquaculture. not marine fisheries. So I
Mhm.
just work along with the farmers to see what's happening and to help them increase production here. So that's me. My favorite fruit is I enjoy eating cantaloupe. Kind of weird, but that's what I like. So that's me. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. That is beautiful.
So,
Yes, Carol,
so
go
this
ahead.
is me. Don't have much because it's a busy Saturday for me. So I'm in and out.
Hi,
Okay,
Carol.
Hi, everyone.
She's not stressed, so you.
All right, so thank you so much, guys. I guess I'll leave myself as last. So, hi, I'm Leanne Morris Bennett. I'm an aquaculture extension officer. I deal with tilapia. Lately, my interest has been in mariculture. Currently, a student enrolled at Holloway University, and I am on my third topic change, hopefully third and final, which deals with population abundance. So I'm looking at the amount of oysters in Bowden Bay, to just get an or to get a synopsis of how much is there, and then look if there's any correlation between the population and the water quality parameters. So yeah, I just sent in my proposal and I'm awaiting approval so that I can start my research in December, like December coming. So my favorite fruits, oh gosh, lately it has changed. I like pineapples a lot. I don't know if because we're getting them really sweet, but yeah, pineapples. So that's me.
My favorite fruit is mango. Julie mango.
Okay, cool. Teresa?
Oh, mine is starch mango.
Starch mango.
Starch
I've
mango.
never heard of that. But I
No,
love
me
mangoes
neither.
too.
No, it's smaller, but it has a different flavor to it that I like Julie, but not starch.
Yeah, I
Starch,
like
yeah.
East Indian though. For some reason, East Indian and the strings, they sit well with me. So I went ahead and had a few questions. I know Julie, keep us on time, please, because I know we're about to.
Well, it's really up to Teresa and everybody because we
Yes.
started late. So I was wondering if we could do a group picture.
Okay.
Can we do a group picture? Is that possible? Anybody into it? That I don't know how to do it, but I can do like on my phone.
Oh, just hold on 1 second there. Okay.
All right. Ruth? Is Ruth there?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just.
Yes.
All right. I'm just gonna. Can I do a group picture?
Yes.
All right.
My internet a bit unstable.
Don't to fix too much.
Okay.
We're good. All right. I just do it.
Karen, any group pictures by any chance, guys?
All right. I did. Go ahead. Questions, because Teresa has to go, and I'm so appreciative of her staying after, you know.
Yeah.
All right. So, if there, oh, we took the picture already?
Yes, Leanne, go ahead with your question.
All right, good. So, hopefully we'll be able to, you're gonna have to do another one. You're going to have to do another
Oh,
one.
she came back.
Yeah, Lisa and Ruth, can open back your cameras, please. So,
All right.
and we know that Nady having a little bit of difficulty, so.
That's okay.
Yeah,
I
hold
got
on.
it. I got it. Go
Ruth
ahead.
is coming. All right, so while we're doing the questions, there are two important things that I want us to bear in mind and discuss maybe for the next meeting. One of the things is that you were talking about information not reaching out into the public sphere. I think as Caribbean people, we do work hard and we have a very humble nature. So what we tend to do, we tend to not just hug the information to ourselves, but rather I think we tend to see our victory and go, just pass over it, like brush over it. Okay, that's good. And then go on to the next. How do we adapt a culture of really acknowledging the amount of work we've done and feeling okay with the public seeing it? Because a lot of us are also very shy. How do we embrace that? I mean, a win is a win, but it's a lot of work to sit down, and even as a bachelor student, it's a lot of work to sit down, do your studies, write your proposals, actually carry out the experiment. How did you move from, or if you were ever a shy person, move from that to being, okay, I'm comfortable with the public knowing what I do?
I'm extremely shy. I was extremely shy. I still have this fear of hearing my own voice. So like if I record myself saying something about a tree, I can't watch it. I did an entire interview. It was a UE thing when they were doing their graduation stuff, and they were talking about students, blah, blah, blah. I will force myself to do it, but I've never watched the interview. I've never watched it. They sent it to me. I sent it to other folks who wanted to see it. I've never watched it because I still have that thing to hear my own voice. However, because of what I really, it's such a deep desire for me to do things that I'm doing. And it's such a passionate thing that I do. I know that is part of it. And it's sort of, it's like when you're presenting your research in front of people in a seminar, like it's something that's necessary to communicate what you're doing. A grad student, so obviously I have to communicate this to be graded. So I kind of just push myself to do it and realize that it's not about me really. It's about what I am trying to achieve. It's my mission, it's the goal. I do love communicating science, but I found that it's based on the analytics of social media at times too. You have to go with that in order to have more visibility with your content. So I know that videos are better. I know that voiceovers are something very, I don't know, it's very engaging type of content. So those aren't things that I'm very comfortable with, but because I know that it's something that is within this mission of mine, I will take a breather and do it. Okay. I will push myself to edit the content, to listen to my own voice, and then I will put it out there. But trust me, I may not listen to it again once.
Okay, so I get what you're saying. I understand exactly.
I think you need to just focus. Yeah, just focus on what you're trying to achieve and know that, I mean, you could get someone else to sort of have like a partner who would just like listen to the stuff or listen to the content, see if they like it, see if they don't like it, what you could change. But I think it's more of the focus of what your goal is and what you're passionate about, and that is part of it. Unfortunately, fortunately, yeah. But,
yeah, so you let your passion drive you pretty much.
Yeah, let your passion drive you. Yeah.
Very cool. Anybody else have any questions to ask?
I wanted to add to that because when I started this, I'm a research scientist. So I have spent beyond years behind the bench, right? And I am in the age of no social media. This is just something that just started for me. But as Teresa said, I have this passion to get this out. Let me tell you, the first time I did the YouTube, it's not fun. But it's like practice. It's like the more you do it, the more you have to start. And if you have that passion, you want to get people to your message. And I really encourage everybody on this platform to start getting the message out. I want you to do like a little clip of yourself and start practicing. But that's the only way, because the more you do it, it's like giving a presentation. I remember the very first time when I left Jamaica and I went to the States and I did my very first presentation in front of everybody, you know, coming from the little island, whatever. It was the most nerve-wracking experience. I can tell you, like my hands shake, I was sweating, and like all kind of horrible experiences. But over the years, every single time, it never gets easy. It gets easier, but I mean, I always get a little bit nervous, but because you've done it so many times, it's just really, really practice. So you have to start. Just do it. You know what they say, fake it till you make it?
Yeah.
I have that in my
Yeah,
head all the
exactly,
time.
yes.
You just have to
Fake-
do it.
Fake it till
Okay,
you
so
make it, yep.
I think I have another two-pronged question, which is short. So, let me make sure because I sorry, I wrote it down, so there are lots of messages coming in. So, one, what's your advice for persons who feel that they have started late, their academic life late? Some persons have just started at 30, 29, 35. And you know, it's like, whew, it's a big workload of doing academics. And along with that, as someone who may have started later in life or may have a lot of things to do, how do you manage the stress of being in academia? Because remember, so there is research and you're doing it, or whichever kind of academic work you're doing, and then there's the stress that comes with it. How do you manage those two? What are the words and how do you manage the stress?
I don't know. I think people think I'm very young. So how old do you guys think I am?
Maybe about 31, I would say, finishing up. Yes.
Yeah, 30
31,
maybe.
32.
Less.
No, I'm 36 and I'm going to be 37 in January. So I started PhD 30 when I was 30 years old. So, but I did take time off from school. I did have some persons in my family pass away, which was a very stressful thing. So to add to the other part of that, I don't think you should focus on age. You know, my mom went back to school in her 50s to get a master's degree just because she was almost going to retire, right? You know, and it was just something she really wanted to do and achieve, and she went back to school at 53 or something like that. So age isn't something that you should think about. For me, I would say I took the long route in education to get to where I am, because I didn't know specifically what I wanted to do. So I had to experience different things to find my path, like what I wanted to do. And so I jumped around in different labs. So that's why when you were giving the introduction, you said insect biomechanics and then cancer biology. Like, these are two completely different things. But because I have a degree in physics, it's like physics, you could branch off into a lot of different areas, right? And so there's physics in a lot of things. And I tried to, you know, I started to, you know, I found that I really liked biology only if I apply physics to it. So then I started doing biophysics work, biomechanics work. And then that's how I kind of jumped around in different biomechanics labs. And then I landed in a plant lab and I was like, okay, this is it. This is it. But when I landed in that lab, I was like in my late 20s, I was like almost 30. And that's when I found what I really wanted to do in research. I knew I wanted to do research, but I didn't know what I wanted to do research in. And then when I got to that point, I still had to think about, all right, I know this is what I want to do. Now I have to apply and be back in school for another few years. And the one thing I think sometimes we think as women too, especially for me, you know, I'm not a mom, I'm not married, you know,
Well,
and
married
so
I am, but
this is also, we also have things in life we want to do. And so you think about your age, like, oh gosh, I'm going to go back to school. I need to just settle down and get a job. And, you know, but I feel like I was called to do the things that I am doing. And so I don't feel like I wanted my age to affect that and the things that I didn't have yet in life. And so that's that, because it can all come about in that period of time. And yeah, forget age.
Yeah,
That's just a number in education. You can learn, you're always learning. That's how I always think of it. You're a life student completely. The other part of managing stress, just off of my experience when I was in grad school, I'm not in my 6th year, right? So I did say that I started when I was 30 and I am 36 now. but I'm actually in my 4th year because I took some time off due to persons in my family who were very dear to me passed away. Even just this year, another person passed, right?
Condolences.
And so during that period of time, I had to, when I had to collect my data, when I started school in 2016, I had a lot of errors in my data because of the protocol I was using. I got stressed out because of that, because I had seminar and I had to present and I didn't have no data, and these people are going to give me a bad grade. I'm going to flunk out. I don't know what to do. So then within that stress too, it took me 3 years to collect my data because all of the data I needed for that specific project, 3 years. And then after that, I had to analyze this data, but then one person passed away. So I was like, oh, my advisor looked at me and he said, Teressa, you need to take some time off. I did. And so I took the time necessary because when someone passes away, especially like with death, you start to think about your life and what you haven't done yet. And life is so short. And then you start to even stress yourself even more. And so I took a lot of time off just to find purpose again in what I was doing, because I wanted to just leave it behind, and coming back into it, I also had some difficulty with the software programming. You will always have issues with your research, I swear.
Yeah.
And so dealing with that, I found different ways of how to just structure what I'm doing. So say, for instance, I have a period where I just have to write. I hate that. I'm sorry. I know I'm in research and I'm supposed to just be writing all these papers and manuscripts and whatever, right? But that's a part, I don't know why, but for me to have to just sit and just write things is very difficult. A friend introduced to me, maybe you should go on writing retreats where you just go somewhere random, spend some money for a villa for the weekend and just write. And that works. To be in a place that is unfamiliar, I'll be able to focus more. So that's one of the ways to kind of cope with that issue. Also, I always feel like I'm doing so much, especially with like, I have STEMNoire, and that always starts every September. The conference is in June, but we get right back on it September for the following year. And then I have other little things, and you're doing, you're interested in, I'm interested in science communications. I'm also trying to do that as well, because I actually was on the some staff for the botany conference doing social media, science communication work for them. And so I had a couple of things I was doing. So to manage all of those things, I wanted to have more structure and make sure that everything was progressing. So even just someone introduced to me is something called Todoist. So you could sort of write, it's like a program where you can write down everything you want to do. You can put down the different days, prioritize things, and something about ticking things off makes me feel relief. So it also gives you this option like where you can like press to say, all right, you've completed it, you leave a tick there, complete. And yeah, so all of that kind of helped with feeling like, you're not doing anything, or like you're procrastinating, like you see the progress with these things. So it's like little tools you could use to kind of cope with that. And also, if you're having a really hard time with just life in general, and including all the other things you're doing with academics, nothing is wrong with getting yourself a counselor or a therapist. whatever you need, because people think that something is wrong. I was an undergrad. No, I was when I finished undergrad and I went into Harvard to do my fellowship there, I had a therapist, right? My therapist was someone who worked, it was a separate institution off of Harvard within Harvard Square, where you can go and get a counselor because you will, it is tough. I mean, it is a very tough, fast-paced type environment, all these intellects, and you're just sitting there feeling like an imposter all the time. Like, I don't, and so I felt like I wasn't progressing in my work, or I wasn't doing as well as I should have been. I was making a lot of errors, and so I just had to go speak to somebody. Now, you would be feeling that way. No one around you see that, right? That you're feeling that way. I'm telling you, nothing is wrong with getting yourself a therapist or a counselor. Therapy is important.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great, great. Thank you so much. Those are definitely gems of wisdom. There are so many more
Yeah,
questions.
I feel like we need to have our like YouTube. I know you don't like Instagram live, but we need to do, Teresa, you need to come back and talk to a general audience because you do have so much to offer us.
Yeah, that's no problem.
Okay, that's good. That's good. That's good. So for the record, then, what I'm seeing that's coming out of this discussion is, one, it would be great for a meeting for us to have somebody who is a certified therapist or counselor who is able to give some advice on coping mechanisms as persons in research or persons in aquaculture in general. Because even if you're not doing research, you still have a lot of tasks to do. Sometimes you have imposter syndrome, sometimes you just can't manage and you need somebody to talk to. So that would be great, Julie. So that's one. And then two, it would also be great if we could get somebody who is familiar with data programs for collecting and collating and processing data that is usable across the board, both in academia and both in work in general for data assessment. And with that said, guys, this has been quite an interesting evening. I must say, thank you, first of all, Teresa, for taking the time out of your day to be here with us, to give us your words of wisdom. Thank you for allowing us to understand what STEMNoire is. I think I got it right this time.
Yes.
So thanks for allowing us to understand what STEMNoire is, and hopefully we'd like to encourage more persons, especially from the Caribbean, to be a part of this organization. I for sure am one, and the breakout rooms and the topics that were discussed were relevant, and it made me feel more confident as a woman in research. And so hopefully, guys, you should check out the app. And two, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Julie, for hosting us, as usual, being our esteemed host. Thank you, everyone, for taking time out of your day. Saturdays are not easy, but it also gives us, this platform gives us an opportunity to kind of just de-stress a little and just hear everyone else's thoughts and processes and where we are and where we're going. I know there are great things to come. I know that as time goes by, there are some hiccups, there will be hiccups, but as time goes by, we will straighten and smoothen everything out for Caribbean women in aquaculture. And so, not to keep up everybody else's time, I am going to sign off and say, have an excellent rest of the weekend. Bless you, everybody. Relax, watch a series if you need to. Go swim, Teresa, if you need to. Yeah, have a snack, hug somebody, guys. But most importantly, take care of yourself and remember God in everything that you do. So,
thank you, Leanne, for being a wonderful host. And thank you, Teresa, for sticking around. And thank you, everybody. And as Leanne said, we'll work out the kinks as we go along.
Yeah.
Thank
you
you
for
for
inviting
inviting
me.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye.